more insight, more understanding. This is Fox 23 News in Depth with Rick Marinone.
Under orders from Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol and ODOT continued Operation Safe cleanup of homeless encampments in the city of Tulsa today. SAFE being an acronym for Swift Action for Families Everywhere. The choice for those experiencing homelessness are to seek treatment and help or go to jail. Tonight, joining me on the program to speak unedited about the jail option is Tulsa County Sheriff Vic-Regalado himself, who says encampments need to be cleared out, but we weren't ready for that part just yet. Joining me on the program to speak unedited is Tulsa County Sheriff Vic-Regalado himself. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are in the middle of Operation Safe, it seems like. I was wondering, what are your thoughts about what is taking place in your county?
Well, first and foremost, the way that this went about, unfortunately, I think is bad timing. And the reason I say that is, when you're in the process of moving encampments and potentially making arrests, which I think is a component of what does need to happen, just not up front. And the reason being is you move these people out or you jail them, then what? Where do they go? They come right back. And so we can continue doing the same thing over and over, but we're spinning our wheels at that point in time, right? And I think that, the citizens of Tulsa need to understand, as we continue to move forward in this effort to lessen the homeless population, and according to some, get rid of it, I think they need to know the history and how we got here to begin with. And because when they understand that, it puts everything into perspective. And so I would start off with saying that, the beginning of this started when the state of Oklahoma started closing down its long and short-term mental health facilities. These people had nowhere to go. And we are still dealing with that problem today in terms of bed space. Where do we take these people to get the treatment for mental health and or substance abuse? And then we continued it with bad legislation. 780 and 81, if many people will remember, made misdemeanors out of our felony drug laws. And what that did essentially was take away the consequences part of getting treatment and or finding sobriety. Now there are no consequences. It's a misdemeanor whether you get caught one time with heroin or 22 times with heroin. And when they understand that, and addicts do, that there are no consequences anymore, then they fail to go and seek that help. Many people in the addiction world understand the statement rock bottom. And rock bottom, more often than not, was the threat of a prison sentence, the threat of your freedom being taken. And that's when people would typically seek out help. That's why our drug court numbers were high, our mental health courts numbers were high. And after this legislation, those significantly plummeted, which means these people aren't getting help that they needed because it wasn't forced and there was no consequences behind it. So what do? They return to the streets and to the atmosphere that they've become accustomed to. And that's drug addiction, and that walks hand in hand oftentimes with mental health. And on top of that, with the lack of bed space, the lack of treatment, we've done everything possible to enable homelessness instead of getting to the root cause. And so my perspective is that, one, we have to start, the state of Oklahoma has got to start emphasizing and planning for long-term and short-term treatment centers across the state. And it can't just be in Oklahoma City and then Tulsa. We're still a rural state. So what we're seeing is a lot of people from the rural areas are coming to Oklahoma City and Tulsa because we have the shelters. We make it easier to be homeless. And so we've really got to hit four corners of the state with true treatment centers that these people can at least have the opportunity to get sober or get stabilized if they have a mental illness. And so, again, we failed to do that. Oklahoma Department of Mental Health is in shambles. Yeah. Everybody knows that. And this is an organization that is state-run, and its primary duty is to help the citizenry of the state of Oklahoma, and it has failed in that. We've seen it in my jail with competency restoration. We still have people that are in my jail that haven't been looked at to determine whether or not they're able to proceed with their charges or that they need long-term treatment. And so, that That's how we got here today, and that's why our homeless population has soared. On top of that, law enforcement has been handcuffed. You know, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. If we enforce the law and take these people to jail, then we're filling up the jail and these people are getting right back out without treatment. If we dedicate our law enforcement to helping and working hand in hand with mental health organizations, then we're taking time away from crime fighting. You know, and so we're in a really perfect storm right now. And so what we need to concentrate on is facilities so that we have a place to take them, and treatment first. We've also failed in that. You know, we have a lot of good treatment models out there. John 3:16 I would point to. Family and Children's Services with Women in Recovery. These are models of treatment that are proven. They have almost a 90% success rate of taking somebody who's addicted or suffering from mental illness, stabilizing them, right? Teaching them life skills and bringing them along slowly, but teaching them life skills, getting them a checking account, finding them work. And then at the end of this model, these people are now stable enough to move out on their own and continue to be productive citizens. It's worked. And so these are systems that we need to put our money into. Now, there is also a place for what the governor did over the weekend or is doing currently. There has to be consequences for these people. We cannot continue to allow them to live under bridges, to continue to aggressively panhandle in our medians throughout the city. You know, I can't tell you how many people have been hit already by cars. That's a dangerous situation. And I think what we've also forgotten are our law-abiding citizens and our taxpayers. They have the right to go to work without being hassled. Business owners have the right to run their businesses without homeless people chasing off their customers. You know, these are our citizens who also have rights, and I think we need to take them into account as well. So there is a component for law enforcement and jail. There is a component for moving these encampments and keeping them gone. But we have to have a place to take these people. If not, the jail's the only one. And over the last decade, I can tell you, running the state's largest jail, we have become the de facto mental health treatment facility. We can't continue to do that. And that burden is being put on Tulsa taxpayers as opposed to the state of Oklahoma and with ODMH doing their job. And that's completely unfair and unacceptable. And so when you put all these models into the proper order in which they should happen, I think we will start to make a dent in the homeless population. But I would also caution people, there is no a quick fix to this. Anybody who promises to end homelessness in a couple of years, 5 years, is either very uninformed or they're lying to their constituency. This takes time. We did not get here overnight. This is decades in the works. And so it's going to take some time, but if we start now, at least the next generation of Tulsans is going to start seeing improvement in this, in lessening the homeless population. And again, there's a place for consequences for the law. There's also a place for compassion, right? There's a place for treatment in all of this. These are Oklahomans. Nobody is born going, you know, I want to be a drug addict with mental health problems and live under a bridge. Nobody wants that. But they fall into this deep abyss of drugs and mental illness, and they find themselves there. And so we do have an obligation to help our fellow citizens, but there has to be consequences and accountability, which are the cornerstones of sobriety, right? And so I think that, again, there's room for all of these models, but they have to be put in the proper order, and we have to start now. And it can't involve, you know, political fighting, and it can't involve political agendas. This is about these people and helping them or face the consequences of jail and or prison. I mean, that's it. We have to pull the welcome mat at some point in time and stop enabling this behavior.
Here's my concern. I heard from the nonprofits they didn't get a heads up. I imagine you didn't get a heads up either. So how do you deal with this without having time to prepare if you didn't get a heads up?
Well, you know, like I think most people, I heard about it through the news and things like that. So we were prepared in the event there was, you know, some kind of mass arrest. But I will point out that to my knowledge, and I just checked yesterday, so it could have changed today, there have been 0 arrests by OHP of homeless people. So, you know, there's that. And they have moved some of the encampments, but I know one that's already back, you know, and that's what I'm saying. We're spinning our wheels. But I'm not saying that it's the wrong move. I'm saying it's the wrong timing. You know, let's get the treatment first in place. Let's get the facilities that we can take these people to. Because again, we're spinning our wheels if we take them, you know, to go, we arrest somebody on an emergency order of detention because they're so decompensated mentally, and then they get on their meds and they're fine, and 2 days later they're back out in the street where they have nowhere to go to, no program to continue treatment, and then they fall back into that same old abyss that they were in. So I really think that we've got to get facilities, and then we've got to get treatment and emphasize it. And in many cases, forced treatment. And then there's the part where the law comes in and says enough's enough. You're no longer going to walk through here intoxicated. You're not going to harass these people. You're not going to assault these people. And I think that we need to be aggressive in that fashion as well. So again, I'm not saying what the governor did was wrong. I'm not saying that the mayor's plan that he has in place with Homes First Solution is wrong. What I'm saying, it's in a backwards order, in my opinion.
I was just about to ask you, did we do step 5 before steps 1 through 4?
Correct.
So, okay. All right. I'm out of time, Sheriff. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
You
Thank
bet.
you.